So, thank you everyone for joining us for this live stream to explain what we're doing here at Goto 10 in Stockholm. And this is the Pop-Up Newsroom Riksdagsvalet 2018 project. We have some other participants here with us as well. My name is Fergus Spell, and this is Tom Turenad. And we are co-founders of Pop-Up Newsroom and have roped everyone that you see here, that you're going to be hearing speak into this project. Just to give you a brief introduction to this project, and I wanted to show you the screen that I've been showing students and participants over the last few days. Pop-Up Newsroom is a physical collaboration between different stakeholders. In this case, it's with 3 universities, a fact-checking organization, and we are sending what we find out to media houses. So I have introduced each day, of which this is day 4, by explaining to people that the days are incredibly long, and I think people are realizing that everyone is going to be tired at the end of it, but hopefully satisfied with the work that we've done. We are moving very fast, so the idea is that we constantly iterate what we're doing. We design something for the newsroom, and then if it doesn't work, we fix it, and that could mean moving people physically into different tables and different spaces, or it could mean changing the digital workflows. The whole point of this pop-up newsroom is to innovate around election monitoring, specifically the Swedish election this time. And we hope that it will be fun. A little bit of the kind of premise for this project is that we met, a group of us met here in April in this very place, and we came up with some parameters for the project. So we wanted to create a real-time physical newsroom that ran for 5 days. That has ended up being 2 days of design and 3 days of running the newsroom, of which we're in the middle day now. So this is day 4 of the project, day 2 of the actual newsroom. The focus is on digital news gathering, verification, and fact-checking, and we are really happy that we have members of the Finnish fact-checking organization, Faktabari, here with us helping out our teams. One of the motivations for doing this was to think about what we could do differently. So we are monitoring the flow of information to and from and between sources, people. So typically we're looking at English, we're doing English searches, we're performing Swedish searches, and we are trying to track how first-time voters may be receiving information and stories that may be getting to them. We're creating workflows and processes, and we have set the groundwork for that. It has been really one of the successes so far is that the people working on this project have now gone on and expanded the workflows and created them for themselves. We are sending out a daily newsletter, if not, and we're trying to make it more than daily, with updates with what we're doing to Sweden's media houses and to interested parties outside of Sweden. We are also covering this on social media. One of the other things that we hope to get out of this is to come up with some recommendations for the 2019 European Parliament elections. So we are going to analyze what we have found here in Sweden and also the workflows that have led to those discoveries and create a set of recommendations for how to do it in Europe. And just to give you a little bit of an explanation as to Pop-Up Newsroom, Pop-Up Newsroom was designed to create large collaborations between newsrooms in order to foster innovation. One of the rules for participation in Pop-Up Newsroom is to publish our findings openly, and we have someone observing this process, and there will be a report out detailing everything that we've done. Pop-Up Newsroom was born out of a couple of other projects, so Tom works for Midan, I work for Dig Deeper, and we decided to create Pop-Up Newsroom. We had previously worked on projects like Electionland in the US, covering voting issues on election day, which led to us doing our first Pop-Up Newsroom around documenting hate, and we've since done others in Mexico. So, how do we create these collaborative journalism projects? Well, we use design thinking, and we've gone through this exact process with the whole team this week. So the approach is human-centered, and we are looking at product design. we are looking at editorial innovation, and we are looking at new business models. In essence, we're trying to get to the point where we say, look, there's no point in being able to find things and identify things, whether you see it on your own feeds or you find things through a complex series of searches, if you can't communicate it, process it, verify it, and publish it, and do all of that quickly. So everything that Pop-Up Newsroom is about, and including this project, is about refining the process to make the flow of information happen faster. We always start with statement starters. And I don't know if Tom wants to kind of explain how we approach statement starters in this project.
Yeah, so one of the ways that we try and innovate in these projects is to from the very start, deconstruct the problem that we're facing. So the work we did in Mexico, the challenges in the information ecosystem, the actors, the people spreading misinformation, and generally the media landscape is so different to Sweden that it would be a bad idea for us to simply try and take what we did and take the assumptions that we had for that project and embed them to Sweden. And so very early in the process, we start to think through who are all the stakeholders in this election, what are the things that they're interested in, what are their priorities, what are their risks, and then think through how we as a pop-up newsroom, as a team of journalists and fact-checkers and student journalists, how can we address the needs of those stakeholders? And so this is really a process of deconstructing problems, asking how we can do this thing, asking why we might do these things, so that we can come up with a frame that is really tailored for the Swedish elections.
We also work with technology companies. So we try and make Pop-Up Newsroom a place where startup technology companies who are looking to get into the news space have an opportunity to observe the way that journalists work in newsrooms. Often those small startups who have got great ideas have to base their planning on their own ideas and on research that doesn't actually involve having contact with real journalists in a real-time environment. So we do have some people from technology company with us here. They are also people joining us from afar, and we are reporting out everything that we're going to be doing in a final report that they will get to see as well. We're also thinking at all points, what are our inputs and outputs? So we have our news gathering team, we have an output team, and we are also always thinking about the functions that those teams may be doing and the roles within them. And we've seen quite a few iterations already in this project of the different roles that are available. It's also really important for us to integrate training opportunities. So there have been some people in this project with different expertise, and we've made sure that those expertise have tried to filter through to others wherever possible by physically having people situated next to each other. This is the basic process that we go through, and we have been going through. The participants may not have realized that we've been going through this, but we have. So we've tried to understand the problem. We then define it. We ideate, and then we go through a prototyping and testing phase where we keep iterating that on the process in order eventually coming up with a refined output, workflow, and everything else that we need to. This is what we're ultimately working towards. We haven't yet come up with the nice polished version of the workflow for this project, but it is in the works and we will publish it. This is a basic workflow, believe it or not, but we are building on top of this all the time, and we look forward to sharing kind of the entire workflow that we have devised for this project so that others can replicate it if they need to. It's very important that we get physical and get into the same space with these kinds of projects, because there is no substitution yet for working next to someone else in a newsroom, and we are able to walk to each other, which we have been. It's not all been in Slack, on email, or anything else like that. We have taken the opportunity to actually talk to each other, and I think the project is the better for it. So I think it's now time to, oh yeah, I just wanted to share some photos. So we started a couple of days ago at Södertörn in south of Stockholm, yeah, where we ran the first workshop. So you may see that there are some people who might look a little confused in the background. I think a lot of the time we were giving information to people that was purposely vague, so we didn't interfere with the creative process. We used a lot of post-it notes, so this is actually the kind of tidied up version of the beginning of the workflow that we created, looking at all of the people that we need to monitor, all of the pages that we need to monitor, and categorizing the types of misinformation that we might see. All of this was designed to create better monitoring processes and make sure that it was comprehensive so we weren't missing anything. However many people you have involved in a project is never enough. And so to capture everything that we need to, the answer is to standardize it and put it into a set way that someone else can pick up if someone else goes home, or you can just add that to someone's desk if they need to. We also went through a process of creating profiles of potential audiences. So we're not publishing this very widely externally, but we are sending what we are finding to media houses. We wanted to understand who needed the information, and that has helped us prioritize the kinds of information that we're working on and what we work on first. Yesterday, we moved into IIS here, which is the parent of Goto 10, and we have started running this newsroom. We have had people working on interesting projects that we've never seen before. So flashback here in Sweden is something that's quite important, especially and a place where lots of rumors develop. It's not something that we've had to monitor in any other country, but we had two people who took it on and started to work out how we could apply structured monitoring processes to flashback. And we have those results which we'll share, and I think we've integrated that into the process. We also, having just had no publishing team, we created a publishing team that ended up just working on sofas in the middle of all of the other people, but we got stuff out, and that was a big win. We've sent out a newsletter, and we've embedded the stuff that we found so that people can see our verification work. We've also had people from technology companies provide training for the journalists here, and we've had we ended up having some quite deep discussions into the evening yesterday, constantly refining the process and workflow. That's the end of my slides, but I wanted to get Tom to talk a little bit about the technology and that we use for verifying and annotating.
Great. So one of the big challenges of having 100 journalists working together to do this kind of work in different roles, from monitoring to investigations to publishing, is coming up with a process that we can share across the team. And so Miden, which is the organization I work for, develops a tool called Check, which is an open source tool that's designed for fact checkers and people who work in verification or even human rights investigations. And what Check lets us do is build structure around the process of curation, so finding things that we want to look for, things that are interesting, and then looking at annotation and taking notes and archiving around this. So here we can see one image that we've debunked that claims there were 65,000 people in Kungsträdgården Garden yesterday. And here we can see some of the tasks that have been answered by the team. Here we've left some notes. Check also provides some useful bot services. So we have archived this information. So in case it gets taken down, for example, we'll have a version to look for. Check has also detected that this tweet contains an image. One of the steps that we take in order to verify images is to check if this image is old, if it's something that's been published elsewhere, which is a common way that misinformation spreads. And so here's one example. We also have some misleading content that we've been finding. So this is a claim that is using data from 2014, but setting it in the context of the current election. So we don't think it's not false, it's real data, but it's not relevant, and it's being used in a misleading way. So we mark this one as misleading in Czech, and you can see the notes why. We've explained, the person who is investigating this has explained why this is misleading and what the sources for that are. So we've got some good notes here. And then what we can do is then hand off from the investigations team to the publishing team, who will take this work and publish it here on Twitter and on the Riksdagsvalet site, where you can also see the work in Czech. So this is the process that we have, from people finding something, putting it into Czech, going through the basic steps of investigation and fact-checking, deciding whether this is something that's verified or false, or misleading or miscontextualized, and then taking that and publishing it to social platforms. This will be in the newsletter that's going to come out this afternoon. And Czech, it kind of helps all the workflow fit together nicely. We've also been using a tool called Slack, which is a very popular workplace instant messaging platform. Slack is really good for quick conversations, asking questions between desks. You can see here that each desk, editors, investigations, publishing, monitoring, they have their own channel. That's a space where they can quickly share links or sources or ask questions. Slack is really good for quick and informal and unstructured collaboration. Czech is much better for slow, structured, methodical, preserved collaboration. And in sync, they work together really nicely. Here you can see all of the activity in real time that's happening on Czech. So we can see whenever somebody adds something new, or whenever somebody says something is false, that's going to all appear here in Slack. And so I think we'd like to introduce a couple of the participants who have been on a steep learning curve and who have invested a lot of energy and enthusiasm over the past few days. And we're very fortunate to be joined here at Goto 10. And so I think Fergus is going to ask a couple of questions from a few people about why we're doing this, how we've been working, and what we've been finding.
So I'm going to ask Emilio to come up. And it would be great if you could just explain what your role is, what we've decided this role is for you, and tell us a little bit about your experience so far.
Yeah,
right under your... No, you can just look at the people here, but just right under your mouth. Do you know what? Try it now. Okay, why don't you give him yours? Yeah.
Cool. Oh, never had one of these before. This is weird. Yeah. Okay, so the role you gave me, well, it's
well, the role you created, we created together.
Okay. Yeah. Well, pretty much it's been organizing, putting together all the people, and like being part of the team, like kind of creating a team that is all united, and they're all united for the same goal. So what that means is that we've been distributing roles, first of all, splitting up the assignments into more specific and concrete things. For example...
So I think it's worth explaining that we have 3 desks here. We have a monitoring desk, which is responsible for applying all of the searches that we spent a couple of days creating, which is one of the desks that you're an editor on. Yeah. We also have an investigation desk, which you throw stuff to, and a publishing desk, which puts out the newsletter and puts out the social stuff. Exactly. So what exactly is your is the role of the monitoring desk, and how does that work?
Yeah. For example, right now, currently, like what I'm doing is that whenever somebody finds something, they upload it to Check, and through Check, well, we look through the content and see, okay, is this something that we should be looking into? Is it verifiable? Is it possible? Do we have enough resources to go through this? And also we're working together. Like, for example, it's not right now. For example, as we were sitting and you were doing this, Erik here, he brought up an article, and he looked through it, and he was like, okay, is this verifiable? Is this something we should check? And the idea is that I should be the one sending forward all the things to investigation. But as he did it, and I saw that he does it properly, so like, yeah, of course, do it, upload it, like, go forth. So there's a lot of teamwork. And
what has been? I want to ask you what your kind of experience of going through the process of designing the thing that you're working on, as well as working on it, because it's not a normal way to do it. Usually, if people come to work in a newsroom, everything is already decided and they fit into the role. Have there been downsides to it? Have there been upsides to being a part of the process? What's your experience of that been?
yeah, I mean, almost obviously, it was far more chaotic yesterday than it was today. So yesterday went all about trying to find the order, trying to find how are we doing this. And today is more about, okay, now we know how to do it. Now we know where everything is, how to do everything, and just doing it.
Yep.
So there's a lot less asking, how does this work? What are we looking for? All of those stuff, all of that is clear. We have a very clear picture and a very clear goal of what we want to do. And we're all going for it. And I think we have a wonderful team that is, you know, and they are, well, awesome. So, for sure.
Great. What are your kind of lessons coming out of this process?
I don't know. Order is very important. We also, I mean, we're all studying journalism. We're all journalists.
Mm-hmm.
So we all know how important it is to fact check and well, we all want to do this. This is something, that's why we're here. Because none of us actually have to be here today. This is a Saturday. This isn't something that the school is making us do. This is something that we want to do, which shows. And I think it's important to have that understanding of what we're doing and why we're doing, and the will to do it. Mm-hmm. So which in this case includes specifically verification, and different verification techniques, and being thorough. And yes.
So as part of this process, we are also going to start shifting to an election day mode tomorrow. So this afternoon we are going to start tweaking our searches that were originally looking at misinformation around campaign issues, and we're going to be focusing on the election day itself. So because that's a very different mindset, it requires a little bit of a different setup, and we need to prepare for that. Have we got anyone that's been on the investigation team here? The ladies at the back there, what team were you on? Monitoring. Would you care to give some thoughts? We're throwing people in at the deep end here, but it would be great if you could... it's working now. Yeah, okay. You need to come down. Okay.
Should I take this off?
Yeah. I'm putting people on the spot because I want to get honest answers and feedback as we do this. So what's been your experience so far of the process? And is there anything that you've learned? Are there any frustrations? Because this afternoon we want to fix some of those frustrations.
You really need to know what words to look for to find the information that you want. You can't just search for election 2018 because
why not?
You get everything, not the juicy parts. So you need to know what words to write, like demonstration, riot, yeah, stuff like that. To
So one of the methods for us determining all of the phrases and keywords was to essentially crowdsource with 100 people that we had involved in this project to come up with hundreds, maybe thousands of words, I think.
yeah, we have a lot.
Yeah, and some of them are phrases, some of them are categorized. We've also replicated every single word in English and in Swedish in order to capture as much as possible. Did you, going into this project, if you hadn't done anything like that before, did you expect that this was going to be the process, or did you know that? Is it very different to kind of thinking about how you search for it based on compared to how you actually use social media personally?
It's a big difference. I never knew you could do. Yeah, you could search like this. So it's been very, very interesting to learn, and yeah.
Has the process? What would you take away in terms of the process? Because you've been involved in the design of it as well.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you the same question about what is it like being involved in the design and doing it, rather than just coming in and being told what to do. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing?
I think it's a good thing.
That's good to hear.
Me and my classmates have been on this from the start, and it has really given us a really good chance to learn how everything works from start. Not just no one has told us sit there and search for this. So now we know from the searching, from the monitoring, to the investigation, to the assignments, to the publishing and everything, and it's really good to know.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I think just to close, we'll say that we are going on for another day here. You can follow us on Twitter at @popup_EU. You can subscribe to our newsletter by emailing Riksdagsvalet at popup.news. And you can follow us on Instagram, @popup_news. And we'll be sharing all the debunks that we're finding, and yeah, you can continue to follow the progress of it. Thank you.